Imagine for a second just burning $1 million in a fireplace.
Oh, wow, just right up the chimney.
Right, just tossing it in. And meanwhile, two of your smartest executives are standing there literally arguing over who gets to hold the matches.
That is a painful visual, but honestly, pretty accurate.
It really is, because, I mean, if your company's sales and marketing teams are operating in completely separate silos, that is exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, you are burning capital.
Exactly. Picture this scenario, because you've likely lived it or, at least watched it unfold from across the office. Your marketing team is high-fiving in the break room.
They're having a great time.
They really are. They're pulling in leads left and right. Their dashboards are just this sea of green, and they are feeling like absolute rock stars.
Right, because their metrics look amazing.
But then you walk down the hall to the sales department, and it is a completely different atmosphere. I mean, it is tense.
Oh, yeah. You can cut the tension with a knife.
They are so stressed. And they cannot close these incoming leads because, as they will very loudly tell anyone who asks, the leads are completely the wrong fit.
You are describing the absolute classic corporate standoff.
It really is, isn't it?
It is. One side is just absolutely convinced they are feeding the engine perfectly, and the other side feels like they're being handed, puzzle pieces from the wrong box.
Which just leaves everyone working incredibly hard. The budget is entirely drained, but the actual revenue is totally stalled out.
Yeah, nobody's actually winning.
Right.
Yeah.
You're stuck in what today's source material calls a deals drought.
A very fitting term.
So we're looking at this fantastic insights piece today from Stella Pop. They're a consulting and management firm. And the piece is titled Sales versus Marketing: Why You Need Both to Create High-Impact Conversions.
It's a really great breakdown of the problem.
It is. And our mission for you today on this deep dive is to figure out the actual mechanics of why these two vital departments constantly clash.
And, well, how to fix it, right?
Exactly. More importantly, how you can entirely restructure them to fix that drought. So, okay, let's unpack this. Why are these teams who ostensibly work for the exact same overarching company failing so spectacularly to generate revenue together?
Well, I mean, it comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of their relationship. And the Stella Pop piece highlights this core conflict brilliantly.
How so?
You have marketing out there generating these massive volumes of leads that ultimately do not convert.
Right. Tons of form fills, no sales.
Exactly. And then you have sales struggling because their incoming pipeline is completely clogged with prospects who, frankly, never should have been in the pipeline to begin with.
Just bad fits from the start.
Right. So the resulting deals drought is not happening because either team is inherently bad at their job. It's happening because they're treating a continuous customer journey as two completely isolated, separate events.
Reading through the Stella Pop research, I kept trying to visualize the mechanics of this failure.
Yeah, how did you picture it?
It's like a relay race, right? But one where the teams haven't coordinated their equipment at all.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Imagine marketing has spent a month in their silo carefully milling this perfectly square baton, and they sprint down the track flawlessly.
Perfect form, great speed.
Exactly. But sales has spent years training their hands to only catch cylindrical batons.
Yeah. So the handoff is doomed.
Right. They can both execute their strides perfectly. They can both be world-class runners. But the physical handoff is mechanistically impossible. The fit is just fundamentally wrong.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of that broken handoff.
Tell me more about that.
Well, both of these teams genuinely believe they are succeeding. And, within the narrow metrics of their specific silos, they probably are.
Sure, because marketing is looking at their website traffic, seeing a massive spike in clicks, and thinking their campaign was a total triumph.
Exactly. And sales is looking at this list of cold, completely unqualified leads, relying entirely on their own raw hustle to find someone actually ready to buy.
And they're thinking they have to carry the entire weight of the company on their shoulders.
Right. They both have a sort of hero complex. They are optimizing for their own departmental survival rather than looking at the overarching goal of the business, which is, actual sustained conversions.
So they're passing a square baton to a cylindrical grip.
Yeah, and everybody's mad when it hits the ground.
Which brings us to the paradigm shift that Stella Pop is advocating for. They argue that we shouldn't just train the runners to force the handoff better.
Right, because that just causes more friction.
Exactly. We actually need to change the environment they are running in entirely. They say marketing and sales shouldn't function as separate units at all, but rather as one cohesive, intentional ecosystem.
And, intentional ecosystem is a very deliberate phrase there.
Because it implies they can't survive without each other.
Exactly. An ecosystem implies deep interdependence. In this model, marketing's role remains creating brand awareness, generating demand, nurturing those early leads, and, crafting the overarching outreach.
The big picture stuff.
Right. Meanwhile, sales' role shifts pretty significantly. They aren't just there to close anymore. Their job is to provide deep, actionable customer insights back into the ecosystem to actually feed marketing.
I mean, I understand the theory, but I have to push back a little on the reality of implementing that.
Okay, let's hear.
Aren't we talking about two fundamentally different professional mindsets? If we're building an ecosystem, it feels like we're putting two very different species in the exact same tank.
Well, they definitely have different approaches.
Right, because marketing, by its very nature, is a megaphone. It is one-to-many. You are trying to capture the attention of a massive crowd.
Broadcasting a message.
Exactly. But sales is an incredibly intimate one-on-one conversation. It's looking a single person in the eye and solving their specific problem. So how do you merge a megaphone with a magnifying glass without compromising both?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that difference in mindset is not a flaw in the system.
It's not.
No, it's the exact reason why they desperately need each other. You are absolutely correct that marketing is the megaphone. But without sales, marketing has no idea what words to shout into that megaphone.
Meaning they are just generating noise.
Exactly that, just pure noise.
Yeah.
Let's look at the mechanics of this feedback loop. Sales holds the magnifying glass, right?
Right.
They're the ones on the ground, having those one-on-one conversations every single day. They hear the very specific objections prospects actually have.
So they know what's really blocking the deals.
Exactly. Let's say you're selling a B2B software platform. Marketing might be blasting the megaphone about how innovative and fast the software is.
Because everyone loves speed, theoretically.
Right. But sales is on the phone discovering that clients don't actually care about speed at all. They're hesitating to sign the contract because they're totally terrified of data migration and security.
Oh, I see. So marketing is out there pitching a sports car, but the customer is actually looking for an armored truck.
Precisely. And if sales takes those deep customer insights, the real fear of data migration, and feeds them back to marketing, suddenly marketing isn't shouting blindly into the void anymore.
They can adjust the megaphone.
Yes. They start creating white papers, email campaigns, and, webinars focused entirely on secure, seamless data migration.
They know exactly how to respond to real customer needs with carefully crafted outreach.
It is all about ensuring the right message reaches the exact right audience at the perfect time. And that happens long before the sales rep ever picks up the phone.
I love that megaphone and magnifying glass concept. But, reshaping two massive entrenched departments that cost a fortune in time, political capital, and operational drag.
Oh, absolutely. It's not an overnight fix.
So if I'm looking at this from a leadership perspective, how do we justify that upfront cost? What is the immediate ROI of forcing these two distinct mindsets to just play nice?
Well, the rewards are highly measurable, and they hit the bottom line directly. Stella Pop outlines several critical gains for businesses that actually achieve this alignment.
What's the biggest one?
First off, you get streamlined goals and processes. You see a massive reduction in doubling up on tasks or outreach efforts.
So less wasted effort.
Exactly. You also gain a much faster response time to market changes. But the most significant ROI is a dramatically more consistent customer experience. And that ultimately shortens the entire sales cycle.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I want to zero in on that consistent customer experience.
Yeah, it's huge.
Forget being a business professional for a second. Just think about your own experience as a consumer navigating a completely disjointed system.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. There is nothing more infuriating than getting this beautifully crafted marketing email from a company. It promises one specific solution. The branding is totally dialed in. It speaks exactly to your current problem.
So you're hooked?
Exactly. So you click and you book a demo. And then you get on the sales call and the rep pitches you something entirely different using completely different terminology.
The tone is completely off, and that promised solution is just nowhere to be found.
It feels like a total bait and switch. Even if you know it's unintentional, it is just incredibly jarring.
Yeah, the disconnect is obvious.
As a buyer, you immediately lose trust in the company because the left hand clearly has no idea what the right hand is doing. I mean, if they can't even align their pitch, how are they going to actually manage my account?
And that sudden loss of trust is exactly what extends the sales cycle, or honestly, just kills the deal entirely.
Because now they're skeptical.
Right. The prospect suddenly needs like 4 more meetings just to clarify what they're actually buying.
Which wastes everyone's time.
Exactly. What Stella Pop points out is that when marketing and sales are connected, the customer experience becomes seamless. Let's trace a lead through an aligned system.
Okay, let's walk through it.
From the moment they first learn about your brand on social media, to downloading a guide, to deciding to get on a call, the messaging is cohesive. The sales rep picks up the conversation exactly where the marketing materials left off.
So there's no friction.
None. Because of that, the sales team is armed with the exact right tools to close the deal, because the lead was primed correctly. Trust is maintained from the very first click to the final signature.
So, okay, we know the ecosystem works. The mechanics of the ROI make complete sense. But if I'm a director of sales or a fractional CMO listening to this, I'm probably thinking, sure, I will build a beautiful ecosystem right after I hit my Q3 quota.
Right, because who has the time?
Exactly. How do you actually rewire a company while the engine is still running? Telling 2 notoriously stubborn departments to just collaborate better usually just results in a lot of eye rolling.
It definitely does. It requires a structural forcing function. You cannot just ask for a cultural shift. You actually have to mandate a procedural one.
So tangible steps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stella Pop gives us a very actionable 3-step blueprint to build this ecosystem from the ground up, starting with a joint audit.
Step 1, conduct an audit. And specifically, get your teams together to audit the current sales and marketing strategy simultaneously.
Yes, in the same room.
Which sounds completely terrifying if you are a department head. When was the last time you saw sales and marketing audit their strategies together in the same room? You're basically asking them to mutually disarm and lay all their flaws on the table in front of their rivals.
It is incredibly uncomfortable, which is why audits are usually these defensive, siloed activities.
Right.
Marketing to prove their cost per click is excellent. And sales audits, sales to explain away the deals drought by pointing at, external market factors.
Who's protecting their own turf.
Exactly. So to prevent this joint audit from devolving into a courtroom trial and a massive finger-pointing match, you have to look at the mechanics of the process, not the people.
How do you practically do that in a conference room without tempers flaring? I mean, people get defensive.
You anonymize the data first. You don't look at a failed deal and say, why didn't Sarah close this?
Right.
Or why did John's campaign bring in garbage?
Take the names out of it.
Exactly. You pull a lead lifecycle for, let's call it Company X, and you just map its journey from the first ad impression to the lost deal. You critique the system itself.
So you're asking, where did the messaging break down?
Yes. At what specific touch point did the prospect actually lose interest? By looking at the data objectively together, you force both teams to see the entire board, not just their side of the net.
You identify exactly where the square baton hit the cylindrical hand.
Beautifully put, yeah.
That leads right into step 2. Encourage open communication. Specifically, Stella Pop suggests holding regular meetings between the 2 departments.
The dreaded meetings.
Right. I can hear you groaning through the speakers at the phrase, regular meetings. Nobody wants another hour blocked off on their calendar. So how does Stella Pop suggest we keep this from becoming just another useless status update where everyone reads off a slide deck while checking their email?
The absolute key here is that the agenda cannot be a status update. It has to be an active, real-time data adjustment session.
Oh, I see. So it's working sessions, not presentations.
Exactly. This is where the feedback loop we talked about earlier is actually operationalized. The meeting should be focused exclusively on funnel performance and objection handling.
Give me an example of what that sounds like.
So sales comes to the table and says, look, we had 30 calls this week, and 20 of them stalled entirely because of the pricing structure.
Okay, very specific feedback.
Right. And marketing immediately takes that data and says, okay, we need to adjust our top-of-funnel messaging to pre-qualify for budget earlier, or we need to create a campaign that better justifies the premium cost.
It is highly tactical. The megaphone is taking direct orders from the magnifying glass in real time.
Exactly. Which brings us to step 3. And honestly, this is arguably the most crucial structural change of the entire blueprint. You have to define shared KPIs.
Shared KPIs, specifically tying them both to a metric like the lead-to-customer ratio, which means we're moving past measuring mere activity and strictly measuring the final outcome.
This raises an important question about human behavior and behavioral economics in the workplace. People will always, without fail, optimize their behavior for the metrics that dictate their bonuses, their commissions, or their performance reviews.
That's just human nature.
Exactly. Let's look at the underlying mechanics of compensation. If sales is graded and paid strictly on how many deals they close, and marketing is graded and paid strictly on how many clicks or form fills they generate, conflict is absolutely inevitable.
Because technically, in that siloed system, marketing hit their metric. They got the clicks. They get their bonus, even if none of those clicks actually buy anything.
Precisely. They did exactly what the company incentivized them to do. They cast the widest, most generic net possible, just to get the sheer volume of numbers up.
And sales is left sifting through a mountain of completely unqualified leads.
Yeah, missing their quota and totally resenting marketing for it.
Yeah.
But by implementing Stella Pop's method, making the lead-to-customer ratio a shared metric, you fundamentally change the rules of the game entirely.
So suddenly, both teams are accountable for the exact same finish line. That is a massive shift in office politics. I mean, if I'm in marketing and my bonus now depends on sales actually closing the deals, I suddenly care deeply about the quality of the lead I am passing over.
You're not going to just throw volume over the fence anymore.
No way. I might even ask to sit in on a few sales calls just to make sure my messaging is actually resonating with the real buyers.
And right there, you are hardwiring the intentional ecosystem into the company's DNA. Marketing no longer wins unless sales wins.
And it goes the other way too, right?
Absolutely. Conversely, sales cannot just write off leads as bad without actively working with marketing to refine the targeting. Because their success metric is now tied to how well they convert the pipeline marketing builds.
They literally sink or swim together.
They do. It forces accountability in a way that just asking people to communicate better never, ever will. You are changing the physical architecture of how success is actually defined.
Wow. So to summarize the journey we have been on today, we started in the frustration of a deals drought, where everyone is running as fast as they can, but the baton keeps dropping because the fit is mechanistically broken.
A lot of wasted energy.
Totally. And we unpacked the Stella Pop insight that the only way out is to stop treating these teams as completely separate entities. You have to start building a cohesive, intentional ecosystem.
Connect the pieces.
By deliberately linking the megaphone of marketing with the magnifying glass of sales, you eliminate that jarring, disjointed customer experience that causes buyers to just lose trust.
It smooths everything out.
And by forcing an anonymized joint audit, holding highly tactical data adjustment meetings, and sharing the exact same performance metrics, you ensure that everyone is running in the exact same lane, passing the baton seamlessly, and ultimately shortening that sales cycle.
That's the goal.
Whether you are a fractional CMO dropping into a messy, siloed situation, an entrepreneur building a company from scratch, or just someone trying to navigate really complex team dynamics, breaking down these walls is not just a nice-to-have cultural shift. It is the fundamental key to driving real, sustained value.
And, as you think about implementing this in your own organization, it leaves us with a really fascinating implication to consider about the future of business structures in general.
What's that?
Well, if sales and marketing must rely on each other's data this heavily, if they're sharing the exact same metrics for success, and if they are truly functioning as one continuous, unbroken ecosystem to guide the customer from the first touch to the final signature,
right?
At what point do the traditional titles of sales and marketing become obsolete entirely? Are we just watching these two distinct fields slowly merge into a single unified revenue or customer journey department?
Oh, man. That is a structural paradigm shift worth pondering as you look at your own org chart this week.
It really makes you think about what the future office looks like.
It definitely does. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of alignment. We will see you next time.